Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Cincinnati Reds History, a new series that I am going to be doing. Be sure to subscribe, turn the bell icon on, comment down below if you like the video, and let's get right into it. So in 1869, the Reds became the first professional baseball club, playing local clubs and traveling all over. Barnstorming is what it's called most of the time. Then they started playing games. In their first ever regular season game, they won 45-9 over the Great Westerns of Cincinnati. And in June 14th, 1870, after 130 consecutive games without a loss, they finally lose to the Brooklyn Atlantics 8-7 in extra innings. The streak includes 81 official games and 49 expositions. Then, 6 years later, on February 2nd, 1876, the National League is formed in New York City with Cincinnati as a charter member, along with a few other cities. I'll name a few: Chicago, Boston, St. Louis, and Louisville. In October 8th, Cincinnati is expelled from the National League due to its refusal to stop renting their ballpark on Sundays, and to and because they were kept selling beer during baseball games. Then the American Association is formed at the Gibson Hotel. The Reds would play their next 8 seasons in that league. A year later, almost, in September 16th, they clinched the AA pennant. That was the first league championship won by a professional team in Cincinnati. On April 17th, which by the time you probably watch this video in a few weeks, you could be watching this on April 17th, and that would be several hundred years ago, like almost 145 years ago. The first opening day festivities are seen, decorations, and a pregame concert by the local orchestra. They greet fans. Then, later that year in November, they are allowed to rejoin the National League, joining Boston, Brooklyn, Chicago, Cleveland, New York, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh. On April 22nd, 1891, the first opening day parade is organized by the new owner, John T. Brush. The parade contains the Weber's military band, two large horse-drawn wagons called tally-hoes, which were occupied by the Reds and the opponent, the Cleveland Spiders. Fast forward to 1902 and April 17th. One of the most ornately designed ballparks in Major League history, the Palace of the Fans, hosts its first game. On April 11th, 1912, in Redland Field, later known as Crosley Field, they host their first ever game, and the Reds beat Chicago 10-6. The official dedication of the ballpark was held May 18th. September 16th, 1919, they clinched their first National League pennant in franchise history with a 4-3 victory over the Giants at Redland Field. Remember that later that will be known as Crosley Field. And October 9th, 1919, the Reds win the franchise's first World Series, defeating the White Sox 10-5. However, if you guys know a lot about baseball, the Chicago White Sox threw the series. On April 16th, 1934, the board of directors renamed Redland Field Crosley Field in honor of the new team owner, Powell Crosley Jr. Crosley, a radio tycoon, bought the team on February 4th and made sure that fans knew that the team would stay in Cincinnati. This is one of the biggest ones. The Reds became the first team in Major League history to use an airplane to travel from one city to another. Flew from Cincinnati to Chicago. And also, they played the first night game. They beat they beat the Philadelphia Phillies 2-1 before 20,422 fans. In 1937, the field, Crosley's Field, was flooded because of a local creek flooding. Reds pitcher Lee Grissom and groundskeeper Matty Schwab are photographed in a rowboat crossing the field. 1938, June 11th, Johnny Vandermeer throws the first of two straight no-hitters, defeating the Boston Braves 3-0 at Crosley Field. And then only 4 days later, he throws his second consecutive no-hitter, which is the only person to do that ever. Crosley Field hosts the sixth All-Star Game. Ernie Lombardi, Paul Derriger, Ivo Goodman, Frank McCormick, and Johnny Vandermeer represent the Reds. Vandermeer tosses 3 scoreless innings as the NL wins 4-1. A year later, they clinched the second National League pennant in history, but swept by the Yankees in the World Series. The Reds clinched their second World Series championship with a 2-win home win over the Tigers in Game 7. This is in 1940. And Joe Nuxhall becomes the youngest player. He is only 15 years old. But he didn't do that well. Gave up 5 runs and retired just 2 batters in 2/3 of an inning. He was not pitching in the majors until 1952. Then, fast forward to June 30th, 1970. Riverfront Stadium opens as 51,050 fans attend to see the Reds host the Braves. And Atlanta wins 8-2. Hank Aaron hits the first home run in Riverfront Stadium. And just 2 weeks after it opened, they hosted the All-Star Game. The NL scores a 5-4 victory over 12 innings as Pete Rose, as you probably know if you're a big Reds fan, absolutely destroys AL catcher Ray Fosse. He got injured. That's why, if you know, the Major Leagues abandoned it. And there are several other instances, as you know. Buster Posey, he got injured. One of the biggest trades in Reds history, they send Lee May, Tommy Helms, and Jimmy Stewart to the Astros in exchange for Joe Morgan, Jack Billingham, Cesar Germano, Ed Armbruster, and Dennis Menke. The Reds scored 2 runs in 1972 on October 11th to beat the Pirates 4-3 to win the NLCS. Johnny Bench tied the game with a homer, and then George Foster scores the winning run on Bob Moose's wild pitch. And then a week and a half later, the Reds lose Game 7 to the Oakland Athletics. But 3 years later, on October 22nd, 1975, the Reds beat the Red Sox in Game 7. They won 4-3, first title in 35 years. They came back from behind in 5 games, and Carlton Fisk for the Red Sox hit his legendary 12th inning home run. If you don't know, he tried to wave it fair. Pete Rose was the series MVP, went 10 for 27 with 370 average. Very solid. He helps the Reds come back in every single one of their victories. And then the Big Red Machine wins its 2nd straight World Series title by sweeping the Phillies and the Yankees. The next year, on September 28th, 1977, George Foster hits his record-setting 52 home run during an 8-run blowout over the Padres in Riverfront. He would win the NL MVP after hitting .320 with a league-high 149 RBIs and a .124 runs scored. Pete Rose has a hitting streak of 44 consecutive games. That's only topped by Joe DiMaggio. But unfortunately, he did not extend the streak the next night. And the September 17, 1983, Johnny Bench hits his final home run of his career. It was 389. And next year, Pete Rose debuts as the Reds player manager. They would win 6-4 and goes for 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. And then on September 11th, 1985, Pete Rose becomes the only player besides Ty Cobb with 4,000 hits, and he breaks Ty Cobb's record. In 1987, Eric Davis hits his 30th home run and 30 stolen bases to become the only 30-30 club, well, the first 30-30 club. And 1988, Tom Browning threw a perfect game. And unfortunately, in 1989, Pete Rose banned due to gambling. And that is the video. A bonus for you guys. Joey Votto made his MLB debut in the later 2000s. In 2007. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you guys are wondering, I currently will have 4 series. Top 10 players for every team. History for all 30 ball clubs. MLB stats, and as you saw last video, boom, boom. Give me a drum roll, please. Players being hot for a short time. If you haven't watched that video, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it does have a Cincinnati Red in it. So, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, turn the bell icon on, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.